Hey, it's Zane here and welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. And I want to thank you for tuning in today. And please remember to give the video a like. It's a free and easy way to support the channel and to, encourage me to keep showing up and doing what I'm doing, sharing what I know about Bitcoin and how it can make your life better. Now, in today's video, I want to talk about the 3 vital steps for success in Bitcoin. So in other words, what I mean is being able to really benefit from everything that Bitcoin represents and has to offer. It is a process, it is a journey, it is not something that just happens in 5 minutes. That journey doesn't end the minute that you decide to actually buy a bag of Satoshis or Bitcoin for the first time. It is something that is an evolving process that you progressively learn over a period of time. And so I want to get into these 3 key steps. But the first thing I want to highlight is that, it's very difficult to go on this journey of Bitcoin and to really develop the conviction to stay the course if you're not really first absolutely crystal clear on the 2 big problems that Bitcoin actually solves. So once you're clear on these 2 big problems and you've done a little bit of homework, and you're compelled to read, to listen to podcasts, to download some audio books, and you're compelled to go on a learning journey, that's when you're ready to actually benefit from everything that Bitcoin has to offer, in my opinion. And I say this coming from somebody who has witnessed, and I'm friends with, some very successful people who have been in Bitcoin and have gotten out of Bitcoin because they, tripled or quadrupled their money. And it's fascinating to me when I talk to smart people who are no longer in Bitcoin to kind of learn their reasons for no longer being in Bitcoin. And I don't want to get too much into that in this video, but only to say that there are very smart people that do go into Bitcoin for the wrong reasons and are now out of Bitcoin, and they're going to discover that selling their Bitcoin was one of the biggest mistakes that they ever made. And I think this will become clearer as we go through this discussion today. But the 2 main problems are, of course, number 1, inflation. And I don't need to talk too much about that today, but we know that our purchasing power is being destroyed. We know that when you operate on a currency that is being diluted through currency debasement, through money printing, when we have a currency that is not backed by anything tangible, that has no checks and balances, where you and I have no idea how much is in circulation at any given time, and we certainly have no control or no vote over how much they're going to print next week, next year, or in the next decade, that is a problem because it's essentially stealing our future. It's stealing our purchasing power, not just us, but also the next generation. Young kids who are coming through, who are, excited about creating a career and building a life for themselves and potentially getting a home and having a family. There's no hope now because they're essentially on the road to serfdom. And the road to serfdom is working exponentially harder for a currency that is growing exponentially weaker. And that is a term from the great Michael Saylor that if you've watched some of his interviews, so certainly from the early days, it was a point that he really made. And the road to serfdom, which is, in other words, the road to peasantry, is really defined as working harder for a currency that is becoming weaker and weaker. And that's what we have now. And so even though people can't put their finger on why the cost of living is an issue, why the price of everything is going up, why life is getting harder, not easier, they know there's something wrong. They just don't know exactly how to explain it or how to identify what it is or what the solution is. And yes, out of inflation, we do have a small faction of society who actually benefits. And of course, who are those people? Well, these are people who are rich in scarce, desirable assets. And those people are nearest to the money printer. It's called the Cantillon effect. They benefit the most as money is created, as more currency is created, it flows into those asset classes, driving up their value and in turn the wealth of the people who own those assets. So it's good if you own the assets, but if you don't, it's a big problem. So that's the first thing. We know inflation is an issue. We know it's not going away. We know that for as long as these psychopaths are in office and we have central banks who have the ability to print money at will, that is a problem. It's going to continue to create inflation. And so we have to be aware of that. And there are lots of good books and resources out there that really explain the history of money, the history of central banking, how we got to this point that we're at. The fact that in 2008, the global financial crisis, that was the moment when the system actually died or broke, and it's really just been on life support ever since, with quantitative easing, all sorts of spending programs to keep things afloat. And so money's printing is not going away, inflation is not going away, the debt-based system is not going away, and that's why you and I have to be really smart about whether or not we stay in it or we choose to opt out of it. So that's the first thing that Bitcoin represents, an escape from inflation or a hedge against inflation. Number two is sovereignty. And I'm really big on this. It's something that is not spoken about enough, but for me, this is the most potent and powerful benefit of Bitcoin. It's the opportunity to be a sovereign individual, to be your own bank, to be in complete and utter control of your financial situation and your financial destiny, because you have the separation of money from state. You have peer-to-peer value transfer. No one in the middle, no counterparty risk, no risk of seizure of your assets, no risk of being caught up with other common attack vectors that are in place with traditional assets. If you're in a dispute with somebody doesn't like you or what you're doing, or you're going through a breakup or a divorce, and we have these situations where these industries can feed off the misery of other people and bring their assets into play. So Bitcoin fits into that as well, because it, like I said, is a decentralized, portable wealth mechanism that enables people to essentially be the custodian of their own wealth with no counterparty risk. So sovereignty is a big issue as well. So when we understand that inflation and sovereignty are the two major threats in our world right now, and you may not be feeling these threats right now, but if you just zoom out and you look at where the world is going and the fact that they're moving towards centralization more and more and more, if you really care about freedom and being in charge of your own destiny, you need to be thinking of ways to become more decentralized in your thinking. So it's not just about getting involved in Bitcoin to diversify your portfolio or to increase the growth rate of your investments or to make more money. Yes, they're all good reasons to be involved, but for me, the most potent reason to be involved is the sovereignty aspect. And so with all of that said, I want to get into these three vital steps to becoming a successful Bitcoiner, to staying the course, to staying in the game long enough to really benefit from everything that Bitcoin has to offer. Number one is, of course, once you understand the problem and you've made a decision to get involved in Bitcoin, you've got to buy Bitcoin. Okay? I know people who have been procrastinating, sitting on the fence, putting it on the back burner, sweeping this under the carpet, knowing in their heart they should be doing something with this, understanding there's a problem, and even seeing it in their own life, and they're still not taking action. And, life rewards action. You're not going to get the benefit of the life raft that is Bitcoin unless you actually get off the sinking ship and onto the life raft. So taking the first step is the most crucial thing, and that means to actually buy Bitcoin. I don't want to talk too much about where to buy it. Depending on the country you're in, there are lots of regulated high-profile exchanges. It's not hard. You can open an account within 10-15 minutes on your iPhone or on your computer, or you can use a full-service brokerage. There's a couple of phenomenal full-service brokerages in Australia that I often recommend. But so buying Bitcoin is not the problem. The problem is actually making the decision to take action. That's the most important thing. So once you decide you're going to do it, you have to actually have a plan. You have to go into Bitcoin saying to yourself, right, I want to own this many Satoshis, or I want to acquire this much Bitcoin, or I want to dedicate this much of my weekly or fortnightly income into this long-term savings technology, or I want to diversify my allocation, my capital allocation to Bitcoin, because I can now see how it can protect me from all of this centralized dystopian shit that's taking place in the world, and I want to make sure that I'm protected, so that if I need to get out of here, or if I need to take my wealth with me at the drop of a hat, I'm in a position where I can do that. I don't need to call anybody. I don't need to engage a financial planner or a real estate agent or a broker or an insurance company or a lawyer or a solicitor. I don't need to do any of that. I've got my wealth in the palm of my hand, and I can go. Okay, and I can take my family with me. And so once you have those reasons in your mind, they are the thing that is going to drive you to continually acquire Bitcoin. Now, if you're asking me, where do I start? It seems kind of overwhelming, because I understand the price of Bitcoin is hovering around 85, 87,000 USD, and which is around about 125, 130 Australian dollars. You don't have to buy one whole Bitcoin. Just start with 0.01, 0.01, okay, which is a million Satoshis. Just start there. Just buy a million Satoshis, 0.01. It'll cost you, 850 USD, 1,200 to 1,300 Aussie dollars at today's exchange rate. Just start there and just buy blocks of 0.01 BTC, okay, which is a million Satoshis. There's 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. So just start with a million Satoshis, which is essentially 1,200, 1,300 Australian dollars worth in today's dollars, and just buy as many blocks of that as you can. That would be my recommendation. If you're able to get 0.1 BTC and you can buy 10% of a Bitcoin in one hit, go for it. If you have the means to be able to acquire a whole Bitcoin in one hit, go for it. Just do whatever you can that is a level that works for you. But the point is, you've just got to take action and just stay consistently in your acquisition plan. So that's number one, buy Bitcoin and do it consistently. End the end of the month with more Satoshis than you started the month with. That's a really good mindset to have also when it comes to acquiring and buying Bitcoin. Number two is to secure your Bitcoin. And you've probably heard the saying, not your keys, not your coins. Essentially, that means what that means is that he or she who owns the keys, who holds the keys to your Bitcoin that is stored on the blockchain, essentially owns that Bitcoin. So even though you might buy it on an exchange or through a brokerage, until you actually take that Bitcoin into self-custody, into your own hardware cold storage wallet solution, it can be argued that you don't actually own that Bitcoin yourself. Bitcoin is about absolute ownership. It is about being the custodian of your own wealth, of your own money. And so in order to actually achieve that step, you have to withdraw the Bitcoin from the exchange or from the brokerage into your own private custody solution. And so what I always recommend is that you go for an air-gapped wallet, one that is Bitcoin only, so it minimizes the risk of potential hacks. A lot of wallets out there, they have access to other cryptocurrencies on them. I'm a big believer that you should only go for a Bitcoin only wallet. Air-gapped, meaning it's not connected to your computer or to the internet, typically works through QR code. And then you want one that's open source, where the transactions, everything is verifiable on chain. And so just make sure that you do have a custody solution. Optimally, you want to have a hardware wallet that is air gapped and there's Bitcoin only. But the next best thing is to just ensure you do have a custody solution if you want to choose any of the wallets that are out there. But don't leave your Bitcoin on an exchange for any prolonged period of time, because effectively in a time of a crisis you don't actually own it. And so you've got to make sure that you're taking absolute ownership of it, and the only way to do that is to ensure that it's in your own possession through your own storage solution. A lot of people miss that step. A lot of people buy the Bitcoin on the exchange and they just leave it there and they think that their job's done. But this is why becoming a Bitcoiner and benefiting from Bitcoin over the long term is something you need to continue to evolve and work towards. Because if all you're doing is buying Bitcoin, leaving it on an exchange, how on earth are you experiencing sovereignty in that moment, in that aspect? You're just not. Yes, you've got exposure to number go up, but if something happens to that exchange, there's 100 different things that could happen and have happened in other countries in the past. Your Bitcoin potentially could be gone. So, if you really believe in the freedom and sovereignty aspect of Bitcoin, you have to ensure that the Bitcoin is in your custody. And number 3 is to hold your Bitcoin. HODL. Hold on for dear life. This market will shake you out if you let it. If you're looking at the chart every day, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, you're not going to benefit from Bitcoin long term. You're going to get anxiety, you're going to get stressed, you're going to be listening to all the FUD, the fear, uncertainty and doubt, and the market's going to shake you out. And once you lose your Bitcoin to the hands of the big boys who are here now to swoop up and take your Bitcoin off you, the likes of BlackRock, the likes of MicroStrategy or Strategy B, the likes of the US government now, who have recently announced that they're going to be acquiring Bitcoin and their strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's a number of states in America now that are also setting up their strategic reserves at state level. These institutions, these entities have big pockets. So if you sell your Bitcoin, it's going to be lost forever. You're never ever going to get it back. And just keep remembering that Bitcoin is a finite resource. Okay, so once you let it go, it's not coming back. These big boys, they're price agnostic. They don't care what they're going to pay. Once it's on the market, it's it. You're never ever going to see it again. And so holding is a mindset. Holding is something you have to do if you want to realize the long-term benefits of not just protecting, preserving your purchasing power, but actually benefiting from the number go up technology that is inevitably going to occur because it is fixed supply. It is a truly scarce digital asset. It is digital real estate. And so as the demand increases and adoption increases around the world, and these institutions keep buying, and these governments and nation states start buying, and then you have these big corporations that start realizing that they need to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet as well, you're going along for the ride. You're going to benefit from all of that upside, from all of that demand, all of that growth. And you'll only benefit from that if you actually hold the line, if you just stay the course, if you stay firm in your belief, if you have a long-term view, and if you keep remembering why you're here. So I hope you got some insight from that. I don't want to keep going here because this video will kind of go all day if I let it, but just remember, you have to be really tuned into the reasons why Bitcoin exists. You have to be clear on the problems that it solves, the problem of inflation, the problem of centralization and freedoms being at risk. And once you understand that and you're preparing yourself to go on a learning journey, and then you take action by buying, securing and holding your Bitcoin, only then are you going to benefit from it long term. So I want to leave it there today. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you got some insight, some value. Please share with me your thoughts, anything that I've missed, anything you'd like me to kind of elaborate on in a future video. But other than that, please remember to give it a like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. This is Zane signing out. Have a great day. Bye for now.